The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
Full Melt.
I had to play this for you. This is from Off the Record. It's Robin Snyder with Tim Skubic.
Robin Snyder has worked in 8 different states to craft laws dealing with medical marijuana. She is the Michigan liaison for the National Patients' Rights Association, a not-for-profit advocacy group. She served on the Michigan House Task Force on this issue and has worked with local governments on it as well. Welcome to the broadcast. Sue's got the first question.
Thank you. So it looks like we're finally going to have a legal framework for medical marijuana in Michigan, 8 years after voters went to the polls and overwhelmingly voted to legalize it. What happens in 2018 or 2020 if Michigan decides to legalize all marijuana?
Our organization has not participated in advocating for recreational use of marijuana because we have focused on the medical aspect and protecting the patient. However, due to the national trends and knowing that it's coming, we feel that the framework in the existing package of bills will serve as a guide for legalization if it does come into the state. And we do believe it will be a smooth transition because of the regulatory framework that's put in place.
So Mr. Kolbeck is right. This is the camel's nose under the tent.
I don't believe that at all. The patients needed to be protected first and foremost. If legalization were to happen in Michigan, it needs to be regulated. We do know that it will happen. That's not an if, it's a when, because as you see on the West Coast, the entire West Coast is legalizing for recreational use.
Would you vote yes on that?
It would depend on what the ballot initiative said.
Legalize marijuana for adult usage.
It would depend on what the ballot initiative
That's
said.
what it is.
And well, there's a lot of devil in the
Schneider,
details.
you're waffling on me.
I'm not, and I'll tell you why. We've seen states where they've repealed medical marijuana patients' protections in lieu of recreational use. And if they were to do that here, I would absolutely vote against it because our goal has always been to protect the patients. And patients need medicine that's tailored to their individual needs. Little Bella, who's a member of our organization, 7 years old, life-threatening seizures. If they were to start producing high-potent smokable marijuana and didn't provide her specially tailored CBD liquid form that's orally dosed to control her seizures, she could die. So again, the devil is in the details when it comes to recreational use. And if they're going to protect the patients first and foremost, I probably would not have a problem with recreational use on a personal level because I don't believe we should be mass incarcerating small-time marijuana users and breaking up and harming families with incarceration.
To what extent is the current system, do you think there's any abuse where people with sort of a wink and a nod say, I have pain, and they're able to get their card, and to what extent that happens now and how this bill package would or would not address that?
I think those abuses were more prevalent 2008, 2009, before the Walsh bills passed, and I know Senator Jones played a key role in tightening up the doctor-patient relationship and ensuring that the relationship was bona fide. And what we used to have is doctors live Skyping over the internet and faxing recommendations to patients and not keeping medical records. And today the law has been already changed to reflect that you have to have an ongoing relationship with your physician. You have to stay under their care, see them multiple times. They have to keep adequate records on your condition. And should you come into question as to whether or not you have a medical condition, your doctor has to come to court and demonstrate to the judge that you have a valid condition. So it's not like it used to be, and I do believe that's been tightened up. Now, I hear people say, well, people just say chronic pain. Well, chronic pain is a serious issue, and usually chronic pain patients are taking opiate pain pills. And what we're seeing is a trend where people are realizing that's bad for their liver, it's bad for their kidneys, it's causing permanent health care effects, and they're making the choice to use medical marijuana for that pain instead. An example of that, I've had a stroke. and I'm a stroke survivor, which is probably one of the biggest uphill battles that I've had to face in my life. I suffered with cognitive, having to learn how to drive again, having to learn how to type again, having to learn how to speak properly again, and neuropathy on the entire right side of my body, and that was very painful. And I was offered everything imaginable as far as pain meds, and I turned them all down because I knew how dangerous they were. When I took the cannabidiol, it doesn't get you high. It's a derivative of medical marijuana that is CBD only. That helped with my neuropathy, and it helped, I believe, repair the damage that was done from my stroke. But there's no box for stroke. So the box that had to be checked was chronic pain due to neuropathy from a stroke. The doctor has to write it in the notes. The department doesn't track that. So I think there's a lot of people out there who think, well, if it says chronic pain, it's a lie. And I don't believe that. I think there's a lot of things that don't neatly fit into Laura's little box.
Under this bill, what will be the taxation rate, and what kind of revenue could the state expect to see from medical marijuana being taxed?
I think I've heard at anything from $60 million. I think that we really need to wait and see how many people opt into using the new regulated system and how many people decide to keep their caregivers.
And still home grow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't put a number on that. I know there have been some studies done. I'm not sure that I believe they're accurate because we do have a caregiver system still in place.
Who are the bad guys in this debate? Why did it take 8 years?
Oh, the bad guys.
You like that question?
I would say in the beginning, when we first drafted the legislation and found our fantastic sponsors, I don't think anybody believed that we were actually going to pass these reforms. And so the first time we passed these bills through the House of Representatives, mind you, in the beginning, legislators didn't really even want to talk to us about this issue. It was so controversial. There were times legislators literally got up and said, "We're done here. Goodbye." And it was very difficult to keep going back and trying to talk to them because there was such a taboo still, and a lot of people didn't know someone who had suffered medically that needed medical marijuana, and they couldn't relate to what we were telling them about the medical benefits. However, when they did pass through the House of Representatives and it appeared that they could move through the Senate, that's when law enforcement groups began showing up with lists of complaints. Now we had tried to reach out with them and include them in work groups and talk with them about...
They kept changing the rules.
and talk with them about...
Didn't they?
Yes. Moving the goalposts is what I would call that. Whether it's strategically or by mistake, I really can't say, but... we did reach out to them initially. They didn't really want to talk with us, and it wasn't until they saw that the bills had traction that they came with a list of concerns, which obviously was unfortunate because we had spent so much time just to get the first hearing. Took over a year. And from there, it seems like every time we accommodated those concerns, they would come back with 5 to 10 more, and this went on for years.
This law passed, with 2/3 majority back in 2008. It was not close. So what do you account for the fact that this was so taboo with the legislature? I mean, the people did speak pretty, resoundingly on the issue, and it was 8 years ago at this point.
The people are always ahead of the politicians, I would say, on a lot of social issues. An issue like this gets the younger population out to the polls. I know, think of trying to explain to your grandma that marijuana isn't such a bad thing after growing up watching the Reefer Madness videos and, being told they're going to die if they this is your brain on drugs with the fried egg commercial. They actually, I believe, were brainwashed by media and DARE programs. So I think that the younger generation, we are talking more about healthcare. We're talking more about informed healthcare. We're talking more about rehabilitating people for drug use rather than throwing them away and incarcerating them. and treating them badly for the rest of their lives. So I think that the younger generation takes a more humane approach to these issues.
How much of this debate was governed by the fact that there are some people in town who see this as a pot of gold, if you'll pardon the pun, Mr. Alive and Good? Was that a factor with all these high-powered lobbyists that were out in the lobby? Did they help to get this thing done? And without them, would you have failed?
No, we would not have failed. I don't believe that for 1 minute. If anything, I would say that made us take a little bit longer. It overcomplicated the issue, and I'll tell you why. When we finally got support for the patients, and we have always, our motto is, this is about the patients. The people voted to help them. People did not vote for businesses. People did not vote for money. They voted for sick people, and they did so out of compassion. So when we finally started to get traction, what we saw happen was people with business plans, industry groups, everybody ran out and hired their own lobbyist. And they all had a business plan, and they all attempted to lobby to get their business plan inserted into the legislation.
And that made the sell harder.
Yes.
Well, how much did the pharmaceutical industry lobby against this?
I haven't heard much from them at all. We haven't, the only concern that the pharmaceutical industry had was that we don't use the word dispensaries. They wanted us to change that to provisioning centers because dispensary they considered to be one of their words.
Is this the end point for the foreseeable future on this issue, or were there some things left undone that your group will come back on down the road and try to fight for?
I think it's possible there could be some cleanup bills in the near future. I don't know what all that would entail, but I think what we're going to do at this point is focus on the rules promulgation and attempting to work with the department to put forth common sense set of rules that will govern the program.
Do you favor the 2-year residency requirement, Mr.
I have concerns about there not being a 2-year residency requirement.
It needs to be in there.
I think it should, and from my perspective, it has absolutely nothing to do with out-of-state people coming in.
Mr. Jones says it's unconstitutional.
I don't believe that because Oregon has done it, the state of Washington's done it, Colorado even has one. Every state that has regulated marijuana businesses, whether that be for medical or recreational, has put some sort of a residency clause, and I'll tell you why.
Quickly.
Banking is a big one. So if somebody from Colorado made millions of dollars selling marijuana, which is still federally illegal, and then they tried to bring it to Michigan to invest in a business, that is interstate trafficking of potentially laundered money, and that's something that I think could be a horrible black eye for this program.
It's going to take at least a year or so to get all of this up to speed, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for joining us on our show. Also, thanks to you guys. Next week, we have Jace Bolger on the show. See you then.
All right, so we got to go to break, man. This is a really long. Normally, I don't play a whole piece like that. I'll tell you what, Robin Snyder from the National Patient Rights Association, as a lobbyist, they're getting stuff done in Michigan. Got a lot to talk about as it relates to that whole conversation. On the other side of this break, we'll invite you in on the phone lines next on the Full Melt Show.
You're getting the Full Melt.
Your pets aren't just animals, they're members of your family. That's why we are excitedly wagging our tail about our hemp-based product that caters specifically to your best friend. Hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats, and really all kinds of pets. Hemp well drops are made from virgin, cold-pressed organic hemp oil. Our extraction process ensures the highest quality oil for your pet, with superior taste, smell, and nutrition. We hold ourselves to the highest standards, never using heat, chemicals, or preservatives in making our hemp oil products for pets. Pick up a bottle of Hempwell drops today at select retailers or online at hempwell.com. Hempwell. Hemp health for pets.
If you missed the last Full Melt Show,
you missed a lot.
Yes, sir. We are just here to get you qualified, okay, for the lower interest rates.
This is a Visa card.
Okay. It's a Visa card, starts with 4, right?
So why do you need the numbers off the card?
I was going to let you know, what is your new interest rate going to be and what you qualified for, okay?
Well, wouldn't it be a security risk if I was to give my card number over the phone?
Sure, we are the one who sent you the billing statement every month.
Aren't you really just a liar? Aren't you just lying about this? Aren't you just trying to steal my credit card number? Oh, you are? You little piece of shit? You're a little fucking liar, aren't you? You're a little foreign piece of shit, aren't you? You're a little foreign fucking puke, aren't you?
That's what you are. You fucking piece of shit.
Oh no! You get to suck my fucking. You get to suck my fucking American dick, you foreign piece of fucking shit. There you go. That's how you do that.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade. You got this.
Wish your skin could bounce back like it used to? Neutrogena Hydro Boost Water Gel instantly quenches skin to keep it supple and hydrated day after day. With hydrating hyaluronic acid, which retains up to 1,000 times its weight in water. This refreshing water gel plumps skin cells with intense hydration and locks it in.
For supple, hydrated skin that bounces back.
Hydro Boost from Neutrogena. See what's possible.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Oh, Father, tell me, do we get what we deserve? Oh, we get what we deserve. And where down we go, oh, 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 where down we go, oh, oh.
All right, so welcome to the Full Melt Show. And another week of the grind. Yeah, where's the grinder? We are talking today about what's going on with this crazy set of bills we've got here to deal with in Michigan. Now, I don't know. I try to do content on the program that has a national appeal. You know, when you're doing media, the best way to get heard is to be as broad as you can. You know what I mean? So in other words, a lot of people aren't going to want to listen to certain little things about this and that or some local particular things. I usually only do stuff on this show that is really applicable to the entire nation, whether it's concept or whether it's style or whether it's, you know, how things are being done this way versus that. I mean, I try to, if there's something that's going on here locally, I try to tie it into a larger national subject. On its face, I would have failed that mission with this particular subject. That being said, I think the tie-in here is still significant. It may not be apparent, but it is still tied in, and significantly so. When you're talking about creating new industry from where it didn't exist before, suffrage always happens. Because as things migrate and shift to the new way of doing things, pain must be had by some place. Some people with some position are going to experience pain in the transition. This is just part of the recipe for the cake. There's no way to have the cake unless that recipe is complete with that component. It's an undesirable component, but a necessary one nonetheless. Anytime markets transform, especially, we felt this here most notably with the technology revolution as this country gone from depending on pensions and jobs after high school that are good paying, where you can be part of the middle class. It went from that model very quickly, eroded to a 401k model with no increase in salary, or if you got an increase, you had to work like hell for it, and it still didn't match that of inflation. So you're still getting a smaller wage every year. I mean, when did corporate America decide that that was a good idea? So there's pain to be had when markets transform. And I guess the example I was trying to draw here most recently, most notably, is this business about changing from a place where you were reliant upon these kinds of jobs and also what's the way I want to put this? Very few times will you find me at a loss for words. I suppose the way I'd like to pose it or couch it is you went from that model, then it went from a manufacturing-based economy to a technologically based economy. That's really what I was trying to say. So in the transition from the mainstay of jobs being middle income, or you occupy that space. It's the place. It's the American dream sweet spot, because not everybody gets the other end of that, the sweet end of that, the top few percent that get more than the American dream or get the extreme version of the American dream. The American dream really lies in that middle class section, that big wedge in the middle that's now gotten very small. The reason it got smaller is because of greed, but that's not what we're talking about here. That's not the comparison I'm trying to make. What I am trying to say is that the pain that was had was suffered, in this case, doubly suffered by the workers in America that used to be middle-class workers that only had to have a high school education and that got a pension and a lifelong career when you got out of high school. That's not that way anymore at all. Like, you can't even get a decent job, just even a minimum wage job sometimes, or slightly above minimum wage, without having at least some college in your background, preferably a college degree if you expect to have any decent wage. And then you can't even now guarantee that that's going to happen. There are people with multiple college degrees out there working fast food jobs because it's all they can get. Now, the same thing is going on in Michigan when you talk about the subject of cannabis and it's the market transformation. There's pain to be had by the people that are already participating in the system, and they may be at a higher level of participation or success now than they could be in the future. This is a source of controversy because there are people on the other side of the fence. Obviously, the people that crafted this set of crappy bills that is just really a police state mentality. It's what it is. They want to call it highly regulated. It's not. It's highly stacked deck of cards is what it is. Yeah, it's regulated, but it's really regulated in deck stacking, not for many other reasons. And the deck stacking is not in the favor of patients at all. The deck stacking is all about who gets a piece of that pie. See, the subject is still about the money and not the medicine. When the money is more important than the medicine, you're not doing medical cannabis anymore. You're just saying you're doing medical cannabis because it's good for sales. It's good to say, maybe you feel comforted by that blanket. Oh, it's medical. It may well be, but you're certainly not, your business model isn't treating this subject that way. So I want to invite people in on the phone. I invite you particularly in on this conversation. So I think it's really important because as, again, this market transforms across the nation, and it is first medical, then recreational, sometimes recreational. I don't even like that term. It's just retail sales. Call it what it is. It's not a freaking playground. You know, maybe to some people it is party. Maybe to some people it is medicine. It still isn't necessarily a playground. It isn't so much recreational. People that use cannabis all day long are working. They're, even if they didn't need it medically, people all day long work on cannabis, and they're not recreating. So let's call it what it is. It's retail cannabis. That's what it is. That's what they call alcohol. They don't call it recreational alcohol. You're not going to find that label floating around. The Beer and Wine Wholesalers Association would never allow it. Never allow it. They would take you to court if you wanted to, label something as recreational alcohol. They would say it's irresponsible to even refer to alcohol as recreational, even though that's what they sell it for. Because unlike cannabis, you can't consume alcohol in any volume or regularity and function very well. Now, there are people that are standing in their boots laughing at the statement that I just made right there. That you just can't function at all on your booze. Well, you know what? You can't function at all on your weed, too. That's what they're going to say. I mean, they're saying it right now. They're still saying it. They're not even listening to what I'm saying right now because they're too busy laughing at what I already said. But I'm telling you, as silly as it may sound, as, crazy as it may be, it is the truth of the matter. People work all day long with cannabis. And it's been going on for decades. It's been going on for longer than decades. And so I'm just saying that the pain that's going to be had by the people that are going to see this transition across the country because, at first it'll be a bit of a tsunami. You've had some lapping at the shores of the coming waves. And now, prepare for an onslaught flood because that's what's going to happen. And if you didn't learn to swim, you better start now. Because, like I said before, and I keep saying, and I'll probably say again, there doesn't matter really whether you give a boo about cannabis or not. If you're a pot person it doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is, this is going to be in your backyard, around your corner, in your neighborhood, sometime likely soon. In one form or another. And in fact, it's already there now. It's just under different stones, so to speak. You have to turn some stones to look and see where those hidden places are because they've been cleverly secreted by law. The black market, what a great place. So, the number here at the show, at the station, is and not an easy one to remember, but I'll give it to you nonetheless. It's 248-278-8067. 248-278-8067. And I'm going to invite you, if you've got an opinion about this, to call in and have your say about what's going on here. Because, before the break ends, before this segment ends, I'll have gone over some basic facts about these bills. And then I will take a position on said bills. And then what I'd like to do is see if your position is aligned with my position, or is it a variant of it, or is it opposed to my position? Because I think that these bills do nothing but create structure for people with money to get more money. That's all that this is. If the people that passed this set of medical marijuana bills, really modifying the existing Medical Marijuana Act, they actually got mustered together, butt clinched together, held hands, and sung Kumbaya with a certainty of 75%. In other words, they got 75%, 3/4 of each house, each chamber in our state, to agree to these changes to the Medical Marijuana Act that we specifically set forth in our own people's legislation. And So they haven't managed to do this as much as business retailers. Look, I'll tell you what, Tim Beck once told me, Tim Beck, notably the grandfather of the medical marijuana movement here in the state, as in modern day terms. Tim Beck, and I'll still say that I'm completely opposed to that giant jackass. Tim Beck once told me that the situation in the state government right now is, quote, a Republican's wet dream. I mean, that's how he purported the strength and unilateral ability of the Republican Party to control government in any fashion they so choose. It's in their hands right now. And so none of this would have been changed. None of this would have been written if they were really talking about being proponents or advocates of a system for medical marijuana. They would have at least included some language somewhere about people having to understand the medicine. The people that they're willing to hand grow and processor licenses out to have no requirement for any knowledge in the cannabis arena. So you don't need to have any background, any understanding, any education. All you need is a fat wallet and a desire for it to get fatter. That's all that you need to apply. Oh, and no criminal history. Got to have a clean record. And then, as long as that bank account is looking good and you got some people that want to make some money in the cannabis business, you can get in line for a license and they'll give it to you. But mind you, the people at the consumer end of this machine they're building right now for the next 2 years is going to be reliant upon sales of this medicine to patients in Michigan. And it's a lofty goal to achieve if you don't know what you're doing. And I'm predicting quite loudly that that's exactly what they're going to get, is not much. That's my prediction. So what the bills do is they're intended and designed to, if you read between the lines, and some of it's a little bit explicit, a little bit, it hints in this direction. This should be entitled The Replacement of the Caregiver and Patient System in Michigan's Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, or Michigan's Medical Marijuana Act, however you want to put it. That's what this bill should have been called. This bill intends to replace the patient caregiver system. Now, why did we put together a patient caregiver system in the first place? So there's not going to be time before the break hits to get through all that. Well, it's an easy thing to figure out that, you could either grow it for yourself or get somebody who knows how to or has the ability to grow it for you if you can't do it yourself. Some sick patients just can't do it now, can they? Now, we're talking about medical cannabis here. We're not talking about Joe Hyon or Jane Hyon. We're talking about people who need this for a debilitating medical condition. Remember, the qualifier for that medical condition is debilitating or chronic or both. We'll be back on the other side with a couple of definitions, and then we want to hear from you. We'll give you the phone number when we come back from the break. Stand by.
You're getting the full melt.
Your pets aren't just animals, they're members of your family. That's why we are excitedly wagging our tail about our hemp-based product that caters specifically to your best friend. Hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats, and really all kinds of pets. Hempwell drops are made from virgin, cold-pressed organic hemp oil. Our extraction process ensures the highest quality oil for your pet. With superior taste, smell, and nutrition, we hold ourselves to the highest standards, never using heat, chemicals, or preservatives in making our hemp oil products for pets. Pick up a bottle of Hempwell drops today at select retailers or online at hempwell.com. Hempwell, hemp health for pets.
Attention. Get ready to write down a very important number.
Michael does not know how to fail. Second place is loser.
If you have a medical marijuana case and need legal representation, call the best, attorney Michael Comorn.
He's very passionate in the courtroom.
Getting the best outcome requires quick legal action, and it needs to start with one call, toll-free to attorney Michael Comorn. 800-656-3557. Write it down, 800-656-3557.
Michael Camoran gave us our life back.
Attorney Michael Camoran, vigorous criminal defense.
Ram trucks are reaching new heights when it comes to capability and efficiency. The Ram Heavy Duty is the most capable full-size pickup on the road today. And the Ram 1500 is the most fuel-efficient full-size pickup ever. So what does that mean? It means Ram trucks are built for the long haul. Ram, America's longest-lasting pickups.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call, speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dorr Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570.
Play-Doh Compound can help kids practice communication of the letter or word. Then ask them to mold the Play-Doh compound into the shape of the letters. It's an effective way to foster speech and even writing.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
My name is Kubo.
When people say Kubo, they're talking about the best animated movie of the year.
Whoa, show off.
Kubo is captivating.
You got my attention.
Kubo is charming.
Don't even. Grumpy monkey.
Kubo is an unforgettable adventure that will delight fans of all ages.
Like me?
Yes! Oh boy.
Kubo, in theaters and Real D3D, rated PG.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
All right, so the changes coming down the pike in the package of bills before the Governor Snyder in Michigan right now, have the effect of doing this. Like I said, they're replacing the patient caregiver system, and that's what they're doing. They're allowing for dispensaries, but not the ones that are open now. Not those guys. You guys all got to shut down. We're going to send you cease and desist letters. That's what's coming. If you're not prepared for that and you're a dispensary owner in the state of Michigan, I don't care where you're at. I don't care which city or county or township or municipality you exist in. The closure of your establishment is imminent upon cease and desist from the state government over these bills. They're going to say you got to close down, and if you want to reopen under your existing title, your existing business needs to comply with state law, which means you need to apply through an ordinance which your county has to establish, and then go get a license from the state. That's what they're going to say. I'll bet you that those cease and desist letters start going out no later than 6 months after this bill gets signed into law. It'll be less than 6 months. I'll give it even less than 90 days. It'll be less than 3 months when those cease and desist letters. It's going to take them a little bit to settle down and go, you know what? We gotta close up these shops. Snap. The law has changed. It goes into effect. Yeah, it goes into effect 90 days. So that's when they're going to start coming out. Tell you that right now. Guarantee you that after the governor signs these bills, the moment that it goes into effect, people will start getting cease and desist letters because they'll already have them written. They probably already are. So there's fact number one. Current places are going to close. And if you choose not to close, and if by some luck you don't get shut down by the state police through raid or some other arbitrary action, even if it's civil, closure for nuisance, that kind of thing. It's hard to call a licensed business establishment, don't you think, a nuisance? I mean, it's licensed by the city. The city they already said basically we don't care about your stupid, interpretation of the act that you can't have a dispensary. We've got a business model we think floats and it complies with the law and, away with you. We're going to put up our establishment anyways. Last thing that this, aside from setting up, this huge structure, for people to apply for licenses, 5 layers of them: grower, transporter, processor. You've got, Joe, come on, Joe, hold on. I got what you got going on. I understand. Don't ding me while I'm on the air. I got you. Got a guy on the phone. Come on, Joe, work with me here. You're distracting the guy that's talking on the radio by trying to talk to him. I know that you're on hold. I'll put you on in a minute. Hold your horses for a second. So, I get sidelined and then I can't get through it. So the thing that it does is it's going to put the grower, processor, transporter, you've got a tester, and then you've got dispensary. Those are the 5 licenses. And I'm saying that the layer, the structure, the way they got this going, I mean, armed transport, really? You got to have some armed transport for the medicine? I don't see the guy that's delivering the oxycodone to the guy at the, or the fentanyl to the guy there at the pharmacy, bringing those meds in under armed transport. They're far more dangerous. We know just from history's use that it's far more dangerous. Marijuana, 0 deaths. Fentanyl, oxycodone, lots and lots of deaths. It's pretty simple. It's kind of cut and dry. So this structure is going to be huge and immense. And my position, Joe Brown, is that this is a business structure that is untenable, at least given the option of patients and caregivers to exist alongside of it. Because this does not say patients and caregivers need to go away. It doesn't say caregivers need to grow away. It doesn't say that patients have to stop growing for themselves. What it says is, if you're going to have a dispensary, this is the system that is going to supply it. That's what it says. And now, if you're a patient in this state, you can go into that dispensary and get your medicine. You're going to have to show that you're a patient by showing them your card, just like you would at the dispensary now. I, however, don't believe that these places are not going to be like the ones that are in existence now. The places in existence now won't even let you come through the door until you present that identification. They won't let you get past the counter or anywhere else until you present that identification, some of them at the door, not at the counter. And I'm saying that none of these places that are going to open up now are going to be like that. They're not going to be worrying about who's coming in there. They're only just going to sell to you if you got your card. You still have to be a qualified patient, but you're going to get medicine that is, it's been tested. Yeah. But what are you testing? Joe, what are they going to be testing? Can
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. So what are we going to be testing?
No,
No.
This is not about you. This is about the state. What is
okay, so what's the state going to test? What do we know? What information have they given us so far?
Well,
they're going to be looking for pest, mildew, mold, and percentages of endocannabinoids present in whatever the plant material or the edible is. To quantify.
Actually, they're not going to be looking for endocannabinoids. They're going to be looking for cannabinoids. The endocannabinoids are being produced by the endocannabinoids are being produced by your body. That's why they're called endocannabinoids.
Yeah. You're right.
So I think you're may not be understanding my question, or maybe I'm just not putting it in a good way because I couched it, so to speak.
Okay.
So the question that I'm asking is, what are they going to be testing? Not what they're going to be testing for. What is the state testing? Because I said one of the licenses is a testing license. What are they going to be testing?
Well, there's, I think, now 7 testing facilities in the state of Michigan that are actually going to be...
Not the question. What are they going to be testing? What are these facilities testing?
Marijuana edibles is what I understand in flower.
Correct. But the question, so when you say, if you say to the guy that's got if you're going to just draw this back to the street, if you're going on the street and you're saying, hey, I want to buy some cannabis, and a guy comes along and says, that you've never met before, and says, hey, I've got some cannabis, do you make a purchase of that cannabis without looking at it? Do you make a purchase of that cannabis without examining it? Do you make that purchase exclusive of what its price may be? Wouldn't the price perhaps indicate the quality?
Correct.
Okay, so what I'm saying is what you're getting right now, which is likely, there are many places that either mark their stuff as tested or are pretty darn good about making sure that their stuff is pest-free if they don't get tested. That there's no pests and that they're taking from... So at some point, they put the grower through his paces. They've tested him somewhere along the lines, and they just kind of have faith in him and don't include that extra price along the way, I think is what's going on a lot of times. Because, let's face it.
I would agree.
The dispensaries in place now, they don't want to hurt people. They're not out to hurt people. They need people to come back. They're not the enemy of patients. They're patients' friends. Or at least they try to be. I'm not saying that everybody's like that. But I certainly wouldn't paint that with a broad, glittering generalization. But
are you talking at all tonight about preparing for all this? Because, really, I think that's what we all need to be doing is preparing, because we have no way to stop this. This is happening. This is a reality. It's happening, and we got to prepare.
Point's already been made on the show, just so you know. That point's already been made.
Oh, okay.
So
gotcha.
That's the whole premise of this, is what is this and what's next? So let's just follow the line of thought because we're getting askew here. Again, what are they testing? So if you're going to the guy on the street, the question of cannabis isn't just cannabis, it's quality and its price. Those are the two things you're considering, right? Those are the two things up for consideration in this negotiation, quality and price.
Whether it's cannabis or coffee.
What I'm suggesting is that what you're getting from the dispensary now is likely going to be acceptable in your realm of acceptability, wherever that may be, much less likely to be acceptable to you than what you're getting now. What you're getting now is going to be much better than what you're likely to get, at least for the first several rounds, from these guys with these big grows. And you know what? Because they are big grows, I can envision some of these companies setting up one large, huge industrial grow area and doing one grow a year and then storing the rest. Because who needs a perpetual grow?
Well,
who needs a perpetual grow if you could just grow a crap ton at once and sit on your laurels?
I'm always going to refer back to the Colorado model because that's pretty much what direction we're heading in. We're pretty much following the same exact path that they did.
I don't want to use Colorado as a guide path to what we're talking about here. I'm talking about what we're doing because the state of Michigan is not using Colorado as a path at all. Yes, there are some congruences to be drawn here. There are some equalities here. Yes, there are some things that are similar or very much the same. However, like seed-to-sale tracking, don't think that didn't just come in on an express speed train from Colorado the moment they said we're going to look at this legislatively. None of this was even ever considered as a part of this original package of bills until some lobbyist came in and said, hey, seed-to-sale tracking, ding, ding, ding. Count us in. Here's a few dollars for your campaign, a few for your campaign. Who needs the dollars for campaigns? Here you go, here you go, here you go. We're in the bill, right? Yeah, we're going to get this done, right? Yeah, thank you. The seed-to-sale tracking came from Colorado. That's all the consideration that was gotten about Colorado from this legislature about marijuana, in my opinion. I don't even think they looked at it.
I'm not referring to the legislation at all, Steve. I'm referring to the timeline. The timeline is so similar. There was an initiative by the state people to get a medical provision passed. They got it passed. The state lawmakers hated it. And they pulled the same thing in Colorado they're pulling here right now. And then what the citizens did is they said, okay, we're going to take it back and we're going to do another citizen initiative and we're going to get recreational passed. And that's under our laws. And that's exactly what they did.
So again, but see, Colorado did something very different, Joe. I mean, Colorado started with the medical growers and said, medical growers, you guys get first dibs on commercial grows. That's what they did there. Wouldn't you think that if they wanted to follow that pathway, that they'd give the caregivers?
I would love to see it.
I'm just saying what's going
love to see that, but I don't think the pathway they have is completely opposite.
Yes, because the people there that are in charge of these laws weren't kowtowing to the police. I mean,
I agree.
They were basically saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Policeman, the people have a different view about this than you do. You got to get off the just say no bandwagon and learn to just say yes to business in Colorado because that's what the people want. And so that's what they did. But in doing so, they didn't exclude the people that were currently involved in the medical system when they started handing out grow licenses. In fact, they favored them, which is a natural transition for people in business. You let the people who already know what they're doing do it better. You don't take it away from them and give it to the retards that have only a bank account and no knowledge about what's going on. And pardon my use of the word retard, that it was inappropriate. It's inappropriate to mentally impaired people or mentally handicapped people because
I'm not offended.
No, I'm
you
just
didn't offend me,
look, it's not about you. I'm talking. I have a larger audience here. Why is this always about Joe?
Oh, whenever I hear the word retard, I always think they're talking about me.
Really? Do people walk around?
Oh, dude, I got traumatic brain injury. I am kind of mentally handicapped. Like legally, I'm mentally handicapped. I have traumatic brain injury.
I got you. I was unaware of this, Mr. Joe.
Yeah, but I'm no offense taken. I'm a little punchy because I was a fighter back in the day, you know?
So you're saying you got Ali syndrome a little bit?
A little bit, a lot of it some days.
So back to the point. What are they testing? What I'm saying, the colorful line I'm trying to draw, but not very well, because I still haven't answered this question, is that they're going to be testing of something that is not what you're getting now. They're going to be testing a different version of what you're getting now, probably a scaled back, less desirable, and probably unidentifiable version of what you're getting now. So I'll just tell you right now, if you're going to go to a dispensary and expecting to find Gorilla Glue number 4, expect it to be blacked out on the menu. Because it is not.
Yeah, that's not going to exist anymore.
It's too high of a THC volume. They don't want that much THC in there. It's a ridiculous notion.
Correct.
But that's the truth of the matter. They've excluded it from the lineup. Nope, you're not allowed these items on the menu. Next subject. Okay, the next subject is what about when it comes down to variety and strain? You're certainly what you're getting now has been finally honed over several years by a caregiver who found the right genetics and knows how to grow it. For your specific condition, not for a whole giant group of people, just for your 5 people. This is a much more manageable situation. You got 5 people, you got 5 conditions, maybe some of them are the same, easy to manage. But when you're talking about doing everything for everybody, these guys are not going to pull that rabbit out of the hat. It's just not in there. I don't care what magic mumbo jumbo, I don't care what kind of magic wand you got, you're not pulling that medicine out of that hat. And my point is, when you walk in, not only are you not going to find Gorilla Glue number 4 and other varieties of that have similar problems with this new model, because it's not going to be something that they're genetics that they're not going to accept and start to cultivate. They don't fit the model. They don't fit the law. So what else doesn't fit the law? I'm suggesting that when you go in to find your blue cheese variety, or when you go in to find your OG variety or your skunk variety, your Hawaiian variety, there's so much variety in cannabis. It's, I would say the palette there is much wider than even wine is. That you're not going to be able to identify what's in that package until after you start purchasing it. You're going to have to titrate all over again with something new and perhaps less potent and perhaps less desirable and perhaps not as well grown. That's my suggestion. Because in Colorado, when these guys went to the recreational market, they got their medicine from people who are already growing for the medical market. So They got this, already from experienced growers. That's what was showing up in the stores. That's why people were at those doorsteps. Who's going to come rushing to the hands of those who've never grown cannabis before, never have even tried cannabis, don't know the first thing about the medicine or the patients involved? They only had the pocketbook to get the license. Who's rushing to that guy to pay an inflated bill for a cheaper weed? That's what I want to know.
Tell me this: how many dispensaries or cannabis business companies in Michigan do you know of right now that are already making plans on shutting down and then and applying for the new program?
It's the only choice you have left at this point. It's what's coming down the pike. Everybody sees that ball rolling down the lane. If you're the kingpin there, you got to get out of the way.
I agree with it. I mean, to us as a corporation, our choices are limited. We shut down and we apply. We believe we meet all the requirements. We're only growing industrial hemp anyways. Our program here in Michigan's always been the same under the medical marijuana program, 5% THC or less. And for us, this really isn't going to harm us. It's not going to help the rest of the industry, but it's not going to harm us because we've already put ourselves in a position where we have federal permits to conduct industrial hemp research. So what we're just going to do is continue our industrial hemp research here in the state of Michigan under the protection of the Medical Marijuana Act and divert our attention here versus other states.
All right, Joe, I 100% stand behind you. I 100% believe in what you're doing, but hold that thought for this idea. Because we're going to break anyway, so we got to come back from the break. We'll talk about this a little bit more. Because it's my proposition that all these guys that believe that they're going to be ducking under the fence and putting their business on pause. First off, these guys have mortgages and car payments and obligations and children, and just like everybody else does. What are they doing for 2 years in the interim while they're waiting for a license process to come about? I'm going to take you off the air because it's going to be difficult for you to hear if I don't take you off. That's what I want to know is, what are these guys doing because 90 days after this goes into effect, they're going to start squeezing these dispensaries because there's a new Class G felony for selling outside of your patient caregiver connected group. And that's going to keep those guys from getting cannabis and patients from selling it.
You're getting the full melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The NoSmell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a No-Smell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about No-Smell technology at NoSmell.com. If you missed the last Full Melt show,
you missed a lot.
All right, so there's this idiot reporter out in Grand Rapids today. I saw her on a promo for some show she's doing about kids and drugs, and she's interviewing a policewoman and a prosecutor. Check this out.
These things sound like something that drug addicts would use. Are regular teenagers using butane?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When you are out there, you're seeing kids are you seeing it younger and younger? Are you seeing it used in homes more frequently? What's actually happening?
Okay, that's a stupid question, you old bat. Can you come up with an original reporter's question? One that somebody can actually answer?
Is it addictive? Is it something that's going to get a kid in trouble? Can people manage their use?
Well, I think that's one of the biggest myths.
Again, I just have to take issue with this. Wood TV in Grand Rapids, this lady needs to study up before she sticks a microphone in an official's face and asks an idiot question. When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you. Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
My moderate to severe chronic plaque psoriasis made a simple trip to the grocery store anything but simple. So I had an important conversation with my dermatologist about Humira. He explained that Humira works inside my body to target and help block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to my symptoms. In clinical trials, most adults taking Humira were clear or almost clear, and many saw 75% and even 90% clearance in just 4 months.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Ask about Humira, the #1 prescribed biologic by dermatologists. Clear skin is possible.
All right, so we're back on the other side of the break. You want to be a part of the show? The phone number to call in is 248-278-8067. 248-278-8067. We're talking with Joe Brown on the phone as we return from the break. What happened to the rejoin music? No rejoin music. Oh, I see. It's coming up. I think it's slow as molasses in January. Joe Brown. That's the Full Melt Radio Show. See, it's what happened there? I don't know. It's a new bumper music anyways. We're talking about the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act and the changes coming down the pike right now. Joe, I was saying before the break that the stuff you're going to get, it's going to be different. I'm saying that the stuff that's on its way is not going to be recognizable. How do you find your blue cheese in the store now if it's called something else? Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah. You're not going to call it blue cheese anymore. That's for sure. They're going to assign numbers probably to this different cannabis strains, and then they'll come up with some general name like lemon or popsicle or something to that effect.
You won't find that in Colorado.
That is true. That is true. I cannot argue that.
I'm just saying, in the long run.
I want to be clear, though. I'm not for this bill at all. I haven't supported this bill in over 2 years. I'm just saying I've been dealt cards by the state. I got a $2.2 million cannabis business that I got to run, and I got to do it within the confines of the law.
Wait, isn't it really the hemp business? It's a hemp business. It's not a cannabis business.
We got the industrial hemp business, Bluegrass Natural. We're out of Kentucky. Craziest things happened in the last few months is some laws were broken with some people that were working for us, and we've asked for a federal investigation in the matter. It's a big pile of crap. But the good news is that we're taking our research that we were successful with there, and we now know from our Kentucky project that we can commercially produce industrial hemp grain into sprout microgreens every 12 days, and we plant these and we sprout them in 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and we turn them into our whole plant nutrition powder, and it's with THC or without THC.
All right. So what I'm saying is that, first off, here's my belief. That is still, in my belief, a hemp business, not a cannabis business. So while this may have some effect on what you're doing, I don't think it will have control of what you're doing.
No.
So what I'm talking about
not
here,
at all,
is if you want to maintain a dispensary of some sort or another, according to this new licensing, you're going to have to go through hoops and a gauntlet that includes probably almost all police on a panel that's designed to weed out if you'll, excuse the overused pun, those who they don't believe should be in it. And I believe wholeheartedly that, again, this bill should have been called and is subtitled in by reference, if nothing else, the Replace the Patient and Caregiver System in Michigan Act. Because so if that's indeed, if I'm correct about, if you agree with me about that, that's what this bill's intent was, because it's written there almost in black and white.
That's the intent.
So if
to kill the caregiver system.
So if that's the intent, why would they create a new system and then allow caregivers to hold those licenses? Answer me that question, Mr. Joe.
Well, there's a small group of people in the state that want to control the industry. But the question is... It always comes back to that. Everything comes back to a small group of people want to control everything.
It's of course...
That's the same answer for all this stuff.
Look, it's the Walmart way. It's the Lowe's way. It's the big box retailers way. There isn't a local mom-and-pop TV shop anymore. Those went out of style in the late 70s and the early 80s when big box started coming into play. I mean, big box replaced all that stuff.
I can tell you these big companies are playing a major role in building this legislation. I mean, I've been part of the process. You know that. And that's why I walked away from it. I could not believe how much misconduct there is as far as lawmakers taking money so that it shapes policy.
These guys are knocking themselves over money about this.
Yes, sir. I agree.
And so again, I argue that this isn't about the money. This has always been about the patients. This whole bill was written about money, not about patients.
Agreed.
So, again, if the intent of the bill is to replace the patient caregiver system, I will pose the question again. It goes unanswered. What makes anybody believe that they would then establish a new system to allow those same people back into play at all?
They're not going to. That's not the plan.
That's the answer to my question. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm trying to say. That's
not the plan.
That's the big flashing light.
We're a conservative organization, Steve. You know this. We're all Christians. Most of the people in our establishment
but this is against
Republican.
This is against specifically about you. I'm talking about the system in general. I'm saying.
No, I know, but I'm telling you, as a conservative, we don't agree with the bill. And we're conservatives. We actually used to work on this bill. We were part of. We supported it at one time.
Yeah,
back when it was originally written.
Because it was basically gutted and left with its title only. And look at it. The title even changed because they changed it from there was some other title that Colton had when he originally proposed this legislation. You know who opposed the name dispensary?
That's why we have provisioning centers.
No, I'm asking a question. Do you know? You have a hard time with question answering, don't you? Do you know who was responsible for getting the word dispensary or anything that referred to it removed from the language of the title of that bill?
Well, who's responsible for approving people? Is that what you said?
No, I'll just say it. It's the pharmacies. The pharmacies were pissed. They didn't want anything saying dispensary.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That's because Snyder passed a bill 3 years ago that if marijuana gets descheduled to number 2, then it can be sold at these box stores.
Right. That's Senate Bill 660, and see that's the other hanging Chad here, isn't it? Senate Bill 660,
yes,
which is now, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Pharmaceutical Grade Marijuana Act.
Yep.
So the Pharmaceutical Grade Marijuana Act was another one of these heave-ho, knock each other out of the way for campaign contributions and flights to northern Michigan to visit mines, where the people in Canada who at the time were growing a lot of marijuana for patients in Canada, doing it mail order, and other ways, those guys wanted to, establish a grow in one of those big mines. Oh, it's a perfect place to grow. I would argue that the humidity might cause an issue.
It's not a good place to grow. I would argue that too.
I would say that they would have a lot of marijuana that was full of mildew because you can't get it out of the ground and you're growing it underground. Again, they want to pretend like it's wine. It doesn't work so well that way. But these guys, that's what they did. They came and paid off a bunch of people. Bingo, bango, blammo, right in the face of, what Colton's old bill that they've now finally passed in a different form. got the Pharmaceutical Grade Marijuana Act done, and basically it's all on hold until it gets rescheduled, like you said, to Schedule 2, which is coming down the pike. So let's just say the following scenario plays out. The presidential election is over. Trump went home minus a few dollars and, an inflated head. And Hillary ends up taking over the position. And the Democratic Party is successful in implementing its campaign strategy, which is part of what, I want to say Larry Sanders, because that's who I think of every time I think. The senator who's running for, why can't I think of his name now? Who's Hillary Clinton's primary? Who's the guy? Bernie Sanders.
Oh, Tim Jeffries.
No, Bernie Sanders.
Oh, Bernie Sanders. Yeah.
So Bernie Sanders is the one responsible for changing the Democratic Party platform to include the rescheduling of cannabis as a part of its main party platform. So he already got Hillary to bend left. He did that by force. That was one of the main reasons that he stuck through this until the end. Like, he didn't just bow out a long time ago when he knew it wasn't going to likely to be happening. He was out there spending that political capital with Hillary because he demanded, before he endorsed her and step out, that she adopt some of these principles into her campaign, which she did. So she's now going to, if she gets elected, be forced to carry on her campaign promise, which was to reschedule cannabis to Schedule 2 at minimum. So if this happens, and the Pharmaceutical Grade Marijuana Act in Michigan goes into effect, alongside the Patient Caregiver Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, alongside the now going to have a side system that is eventually designed to replace the patient caregiver system, if nothing else by attrition, which I just described. If it's a new 2-year felony, who's buying and who's selling? And if you do, aren't you going to get a charge that's going to keep you from getting a license? Tell me that. See, there's a careful web being spun here. And the fact of the matter is, again, this law goes into effect 90 days after it's signed, yet has a 2-year period before you're going to see any cannabis come out of it. So where are the patients getting their medicine in the meanwhile, especially the ones that can't find a caregiver, can't grow it for themselves, and now don't have a dispensary? What are you doing to those guys? And what are you doing to these guys with these existing businesses? Don't tell me they don't have significant money invested into these licensed businesses, these entrenched businesses that even the Attorney General has been unsuccessful in getting upended. What are these guys going to do? How are they paying the mortgage? Where are those employees going? You see,
it's terrible.
I'll tell you,
all these people are going to be hurting financially.
No, they're not. They're not either. They're going to pay those bills. They're going to feed those kids, but they're going to do it illegally. That's my point. They're going to do it. They're going to get caught, and they're going to get snared into a place where they're not going to get a license no matter what they do. That's what's about.
Yeah, it's kind of like a trap.
It is a trap. It's clearly a trap. Why would the business? Why would they say licenses won't even be started? You can't even get a license at least a year after this act goes into effect. It's really a year and 3 months from the time.
They're telling us that they're going to send out cease and desist letters 30 days. I heard you say 90 or something.
Well,
we're hearing 30 days after the bill signed.
No, I'm saying the bill goes into effect. Well, see, they're giving them some lead time. The cease and desist says, "Hey, this bill goes into effect in 60 more days. You got to be out of there. You got to be shut down, building empty, out of there. Sign says closed." That's what you got to be if you're not going to be in violation of the cease and desist. You can have.
We agree. We were hearing 30 days after the governor signs the bill, those letters will go out.
So, again, the recipe is in the scenario that I've set forth here. You've got 3 things in play. You've got the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act patient caregiver system. Now, the new modified version with this side-by-side system that they've just created for these dispensaries and this, ridiculously bloated government bureaucracy that will inflate the system to a place where nobody wants to go there because not only can't they recognize what they want to get, can't smell it because I'm sure it'll be in a sealed package that you cannot open. I'm positive of that.
Positive. That's for sure.
So again, you're used to going into a place where you can open up jars and sample content. At least pull it out with tweezers, put it on a thing where you can look at it, smell it, check it out. It's a tangible thing that you can examine in all of its glory. But once it's in a sealed package that you cannot open, you don't know the name to it, and it's got an inflated price, tell me who's walking out of there spending that money. And I'm saying nobody. They're going to continue with the patient caregiver system. They're going to continue in the underground market. The police and prosecutors and prisons are still going to continue to get bloated up with these grinding on these very same people. And at the same time, these guys somehow are going to find manage a way to make money out of this new system. That's what's going to happen.
I agree. It's going to go to the streets. For the grower, when all this happens that's on the streets, it's going to suck because these ounces are going to only go for $75 to $100 even on the street. So there's not going to be much incentive to want to grow when you can't barely grow for $75 an ounce.
Well, unless you're...
We've seen this in Colorado, for example. Street ounces of pretty good stuff like you get at a dispensary now. You can get them for $100 an ounce on the street in Colorado.
Sure, because they got 75 ounces sitting back at the house that ain't just doing nothing but collecting dust.
Well, if I would rather, most people, I think they would think, I'm going to spend $100. I'm not going to spend $400 at one of these state license plates. They're going to buy a $100 one.
I'll guarantee you that $400 will not be on the menu. That will not be a price that appears anywhere on the menu. I think it's going to be above that. I think you're going to be at $500, $600, $700 for an ounce. How can you?
I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong.
I'm just saying. Look at what they got to do. The grower grows it. Then he's got to give it to a licensed transporter, an armed transport to take to a testing facility. Then it gets tested. Then they got to pick it up from there. The armed transport gets paid again to take it to the processor. The processor processes it. Then it's got to get picked up again by the armed transport, get delivered to the distribution center, which then eventually delivers it to the packaging guys. And then the next place it goes to is and maybe I doubled up a layer in there. Then it eventually ends up at the dispensary where it can be made for purchase. Tell me how you're paying for those armed transport guys and all the licensing for all this stuff. These guys need to get paid. They can't be paying these big license fees and not make money at this. So they got to pass it along in what they tack on. How are you not getting a $700 ounce out of this at the end of the day on the small end of the scale?
Well, we're going to see. I hope you're wrong on that.
Well, the only way I would be wrong is economy of scale. So if these guys, are able to talk the licensing board into giving them licenses for more than 1,500 plants, then you can overcome that issue by economy of scale. Because you've got so much of it that you can make it it's always supply and demand. How much is there and how many people want it? If the amount of people that want it remains constant and the supply changes, prices are going to change too. And I'm saying at 1,500 plants, a few grows at a time, I just don't see. Look, Illinois went through a very similar, ill-advised methodology of creating a medical marijuana. Mike Pence is involved. It's going to be duh from day one when it was. So you've got this guy who doesn't know anything about cannabis, has always been a part of the Just Say No crowd, is a staunch conservative, completely opposed to anything. There is no medical cannabis. He's one of those guys that eventually signed a bill that his legislature said, look, if you want our support, Mr. Governor, remember who got you elected? You better sign our frickin' legislation here. And he did. Because he yelled about it then. But the fact of the matter is, the 2-year pilot program is just now really starting to work. And is it working? I would say no. I would say all those people in Illinois that invested in all those licenses, and they did the same thing. $200,000 cash deposits, non-refundable upon da-da-da-da-da-da. Sign this, pay that, get this insurance, show your financial responsibility here, check these boxes, give us your firstborn and an ounce of blood.
There's no way to stop it. There's no way to stop it. That's how it's going to be. Even if it's recreational, it's going to be this way.
You're back on a different point, Mike. You're missing the whole point that I'm making. They put together an ill-advised system that isn't working, and these guys are losing their asses. That's my point, Joe Brown.
All my friends that own dispensaries in Colorado, They're not missing any meals at all. Trust me.
I didn't say Colorado. I said Chicago, Illinois, Mike
Oh,
Pence.
Chicago. I think it's Colorado. Sorry, it's so broken up out here, buddy, because we're out here in the swamp.
Yeah, no, Chicago, Illinois. Illinois, Mike Pence. Mike Pence is the governor.
Yeah.
He's now running for vice president. I'm saying that they put together a big, giant, bloated system from legislatively and said, we did medical marijuana in Illinois. But they didn't. It's 2 years on and no patients are getting medicine, or very few, because, number one, there aren't any doctors signing certifications. They left the door wide open for those guys to get sued to high hell. You know, because you're recommending a medicine, we can discipline your licensing, and there's no protection in their bill.
Well, we're way far away. We're closer to the Colorado model than we are the Chicago model.
I'm not talking about the way the model is. I'm saying it's an ill-advised model. The business model doesn't work by the way it was put together, and that's my point. We got the same crap they're putting together here.
I get it. So what do we do to change it? Because I want to know that.
Well, there is no changing what they've already changed. I mean, unless we can. What's that thing in Back to the Future? What's that thing that they got to make time go backwards? What's that? A flux?
Time machine?
No, a flux capacitor.
Quantum something.
No, it's a flux capacitor. You need the flux capacitor.
Flux capacitor.
Unless you can gear up the flux capacitor and make us go back magically in time, and trip the guys going in there, with an invisible rope or something, so they all break their necks and they can't vote. I mean, that's the only way that you're fixing this. You can't go back and change it. So what you can do going forward is create new law. And I'm saying Michigan's only chance doesn't come for at least 2 years in 2018, and it's going to be a version of MI legalized. It's going to be the same language we put up before. If it's not done, through the courts by forcing them to count the signatures, validate them, and put it on the ballot in 2018, because that's already going down.
What? I guarantee you, every dispensary owner in the state is wishing they would have gave every single penny they could to Michigan my legalized, because now they may not even get a second chance.
Well, there is no second chance. You swung the bat, you're done. I mean, your second chance here is only going to come with the courts and 2 years after the fact. We're going to be 10 full years on before we'll have any say about getting this changed in a way that makes sense, that's not stacked for people to make money instead, and stacked for the people who are trying to participate in the system. Again, if you create a bad system and you can point out its flaws when you start it, and then the system starts going into effect, and then a certain period of time after the system is working or not working, or supposed to be functioning, and you do some retrospect on it, do a little, post-mortem, and figure out what's going on here. At the end of the day, these guys that spent all this money have yet to collect back a single penny, Joe Brown.
I'm one of them, Steve. I'm one of them.
Oh, wow. Joe, I thank you for coming on the show. We've hit our allotted time. We're actually way past it.
Are you there, Gary?
Am I gay? Did you say am I gay? Of course I am. No, I didn't hear what you said.
Gary?
Joe, I got to talk to you tomorrow. We're at the end of our time. Join us tomorrow for, again, another edition of The Full Melt Show. We'll see you soon.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.